LinkedIn has really continued to grow as a channel. And I think, if you're not on there, if you're not using it, you could really be missing out on some really cool opportunities. 80 to 90% of that, what I would call the buyer's journey, is done by the time that they're ready to talk to you. I still think of LinkedIn as the Wild West because, yes, there's some benefits to doing paid stuff with it. But right now, like if you're just active at all, you're going to show up in people's feed. Just being human and just starting a connection as if, you maybe you met them at a networking party. It's the same thing. Same thing applies. Nobody wants to be sold to. Nobody wants to. I hear people say the pitch slap.
They're not waiting for you to be like, buy my stuff. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Because that's probably what they're accustomed to like getting slammed with. But maybe it's because of the entire approach where it's so nonchalant the whole time that it does seem genuine, because it is. Welcome back to another episode of the NextGen Strategies Podcast. So today we have some practical advice from our good friend Grant here, all about LinkedIn.
Heck yeah, LinkedIn and all kinds of other good stuff.
Oh, that's fun. So I think he's going to kind of dive us into, like I said before, practical tips surrounding, what LinkedIn is, what your presence should be on there, and items that you can do to kind of help fulfill and sell on the behalf of your business on a platform that has all of these other, businesses, business owners, and individuals that could be your kind of target market.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've talked on and off about, LinkedIn and using communities and, the advantages of being able to, obviously everybody's online now. And especially if you're in like a business to business type of, environment, whether it's a business you own or you're a salesperson for a business, or maybe you're a marketer for a business, like LinkedIn has really continued to grow as a channel. And I think, if you're not on there, if you're not using it, you could really be missing out on some really cool opportunities. And so, like Tyler has done on some other podcast episodes, like I've got some notes here ready to go today. So I'm ready to nerd out and talk a little bit about this stuff because I can tell you like, I'm seeing the benefits of using it in my business. I know Tyler will talk a little bit about how he's seeing it with his business. And I've really seen the benefit of, just folks that I'm working with as well, with the benefits of it. So a couple of things I want to talk through today, and this could actually be a really good one, Ty, and we'll make sure we drop this in the notes as well. Like if you're watching this on YouTube or like if you have questions about anything we're going over today, like I think this would be a really good one. Like share some experiences that you've had. Today's like we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Slack communities as well. But if you're seeing other ways to where you're connecting with people online via, heck, I don't know, go to Reddit or something. I don't know what you're doing,
yeah.
But if you've got some ideas or things that you're doing that are working really well, like let's hear them, because I think that there's no perfect formula or storm for any of this. But there's a lot of kind of practical tips and tricks that you could be doing.
You also feel free to vent about LinkedIn and all your frustrations, because I'm sure we'll get into some of that today, but like the don'ts of LinkedIn and all the things that, we see on there that just make our skin crawl and cringe-worthy things. So you could complain about those as well, because it is kind of funny.
It is. And yeah, as a marketer, between LinkedIn and which is, Microsoft, and then anything with Meta and Facebook, it's like, can you just keep it just a little bit, the same so we can learn this stuff. So anyway, let's jump into it. And again, hopefully there's some good practical tips and tricks here. So I just want to talk a little bit about just LinkedIn in general, right? If you're not on it, you should really consider taking a look at it. You're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. But I just want to kind of start off with a couple different stats right now. So LinkedIn has, as of the time of this podcast, over 1 billion, that's up with a B, users worldwide. There's over 230 million here just in the U.S. A couple other stats that maybe are just worth mentioning here. So 89% of B2B marketers who use LinkedIn are seeing it generate potential leads for them, and I think 81% of buyers are more likely to engage with a seller who has a strong LinkedIn brand. And so again, we've talked on and off about having a good presence online and what that means, and whether that's a website, whether that's your social profiles, or that's the things you're doing. Like what used to be, folks would maybe have a need for a product or service, and they maybe do a little bit of research online, and then they would expect that, okay, so I find a couple different vendors or people who can help me with this product or service, that they're going to pick up the phone and call you, or they're going to submit a website submission. And then they expect to, okay, now I'm going to hear from the salesperson who's going to talk to me all about my options and what to do and stuff. Guess what, guys? That has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. And, 80 to 90% of that, what I would call the buyer's journey, is done by the time that they're ready to talk to you. Right. And so what does that mean? It means they are checking you out online. They're going to your LinkedIn profile. They're going to your website. They're going to find reviews. They're going to do all these different things before they're ready to talk to you. And so LinkedIn has continued to grow as one of those channels where people are doing a lot of research. And so you got to have a really solid brand. Again, that could be your personal brand, my Grant Cavalt, or it could be, your business brand, GC Strategies, right? So you got to make sure you've got those things in place.
So it sounds like to me, what you're saying is like kind of building this long trail of kind of trust with your potential customers is kind of winning right now versus, I'm not going to say this stuff's dead and you can tell me what you think about it, but
Sure.
that just straight cold phone call or cold email and getting like a snap decision on a sale probably isn't as likely anymore. And I also assume, and maybe you have some feedback on this, it's less effective too, because ever since, like Chat GPT came out and AI came out, now like if you're like us, you get like these emails and phone calls all the time. Like you're almost immune to it.
Yeah. No, it for sure. Like two different things there. So one on the like cold outreach, like what's really funny is you see these people online who are like, cold calling's dead. It's completely dead. And I'm here to say like cold calling in the traditional sense, what you're saying is dead. But you can do some things that are like warmer outreach, or even if you are calling somebody out of the blue, maybe you've done some things that it's a little warmer than that traditional cold call to where you might be able to actually get some responses. But yeah, the days of saying if you make 1,000 phone calls in a week that you're going to get a certain percentage back and then you're going to be, it becomes a numbers game. Yeah, that's dead. You're absolutely right on that.
Yeah, and just for definitions for the folks tuning in, if you don't know, when we say like cold outreach or a cold call, that means like you literally do not know this person. They literally do not know you. You are reaching out for the first time and trying to connect with them. And I think when Grant says trying to warm things up a little, kind of means that maybe they kind of know who you are before you make that first maybe ask or conversation with them.
Exactly right. And that's what, we'll get into some ways to be able to do that, again, via LinkedIn, via online. And then to your other point, Tyler, like AI and ChatGPT and how people are searching, like is dramatically changed. Absolutely. And that actually has been beneficial for folks who are actively using their social profiles because what happened before, and I think I just saw maybe the other day, and I'm not sure how much of this is available still with LinkedIn, but there's talk and there's things happening on the Instagram world right now where, if you've got a personal Instagram, like you are searchable, which is a big deal. Like before, all the, Google used to not really play well in the sandbox. Well, I could have a whole nother thing about whether Google or not plays well with anything. But I use them. So anyway, so like in the past, like, you used to have, if you're searching for something like, a lot of times your profiles may be indirectly showing up in search results and stuff now, but now it's like, no, like Instagram is one of them and LinkedIn is probably closely following and has already done some things. Like there are things where, if you're searching in ChatGPT or doing AI search, like profiles are going to start showing up as potential search results versus just your website, so which used to be the past.
Your LinkedIn or like Instagram, like you said, is a potential part of SEO.
Correct.
Via Google or chat or whatever now.
Correct.
Potentially. So then kind of what we're leading to here is that, okay, if we're thinking about trying to do some level of outbound marketing, you're talking LinkedIn might be a good place to start. And I think you're going to step us through like how to do that, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. And to put a finer point on that, traditionally, like in the past, right? Like your website was that ultimate conversion point. Like everything had to funnel into the website. Well, now you might have multiple conversion points. Because like you could be getting ranked through a multitude of different factors, or there might be different ways that people are searching or looking for things online. Like, folks might be in LinkedIn looking for things specifically through LinkedIn. They never even touched Google. And so rather than always think about that website as that conversion point for everything, now you might have a conversion point of a website. You might have one for LinkedIn. You might have one, if depending on your business, on Facebook, on Meta. You might have one, heck, on TikTok. So just, I'm going to be specifically here talking a little bit more about LinkedIn, but like you got to be thinking your social channels in general. Like if you have things out there that you need to make sure that they're optimized, meaning they easy word for that, right? Marketers like to throw optimized. What the hell does that mean? Optimized meaning like you need to have your simple business information, who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how can I talk to you? Like if you can nail those 4 different things and those multitude of different channels, you're going to have a leg up on a lot of people who are not necessarily doing that. So,
all right, Grant. So I either have a crummy LinkedIn profile or I don't even have one. What am I doing here?
Yeah. And I'm going to go really to the basics. And some of you might laugh who are like, oh, people don't have that. Like a lot of people struggle with some of these things. So what are a couple different things? I'm going to start with the personal one, right? So personal being like your personal LinkedIn profile, like Grant Cavalt, not your company page. I'm talking personal profiles because honestly, like those are the most important. LinkedIn is rewarding personal profiles way more than company profiles right now. In terms of, and I'm saying rewarding in terms of what's going to show up in your feed. So what are some of the basic things, right? People forget about these. Number 1, profile picture. Make sure you have one. So if you want to show up on LinkedIn, think about it. Like if people are searching for Grant, they don't want to see some,
Silhouette.
avatar box, a silhouette. Make sure you have a professional headshot, right? And a lot of people say, well, I don't have one or mine's outdated. Like guys, we all have phones that can take pretty decent, it doesn't have to be you in a suit, doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like get a good one, right? Have some like decent lighting, like don't make it super dark and just a simple profile picture. Make sure that's done. Number 2 is having a background image. And so, call it background header to your profile. Have something in there. You don't have to have a, professionally designed one. LinkedIn has some automatic ones that you can go find and place in there. But, for some of you who maybe are solopreneurs or maybe you want your business, directly associate with your company profile, like have something put in there. You can go to Canva is something I think you've even used before.
They have the size you need.
Yeah, the right size
right in
is
there.
correct.
You can pop like your logo in there and some words, and it spits it back out to you, and you pop it in.
Yeah. So whatever Canva's pretty cheap, or if you want to just do a free little version of it, have something in there because again, if you're scrolling or if you're searching something, like you want to have a professional image, just like you would in your office or wherever else you go. A couple other things quick to talk through. So you've got an about section, right? So, tell a little bit about kind of who you are, what you do. Now, does this mean you need to have, your wife and your kids and your dog's name in there? No. But you can talk a little bit about, a quick little summary about yourself and what you want to have the dog's name in there? You're just thinking.
I'm just thinking what my wife would think if I had her information in there. I'm just laughing out loud.
Sorry. But no, you don't have to have all that stuff in there, but, have a little bit of a synopsis about yourself. And right, most of us have resumes. And so if you've ever put together a resume or you put together a cover letter, think about that. Your summary section is kind of like a little bit of a cheat for that. And oh, by the way, if you struggle to, talk about yourself or you have issues of, within a resume, there's this little tool called ChatGPT that can help you with that. And so if you're having trouble, like, how do I summarize all these things? ChatGPT is a good thing. And also too, I think even LinkedIn now has an AI tool as you're typing. So don't let that be a deterrent for you. Make sure you do that. And then just make sure some other basic things are in there, right? So again, if you're a business owner, you're somebody who's trying to go to market for a business, make sure you like your about sections filled out. Update your experiences that you've had, right? So again, think about LinkedIn. Like, yes, if you're somebody who might be looking for a job at some point in time, obviously for the resume, different things, but there's also some unique things you need to fill out from an experience standpoint because it could help you with generating connections for other people or start as conversation points. So if you have previous work history, education history, somebody like me, like sometimes I like to put in like if I've got a license or a certification for a certain thing, maybe it's a volunteer organization, like it's as much as you want to put into it, but honestly, it's less about them being able to find you based on those things or people, in your network being able to find you based on things and more about sometimes like as you do connect with people, it gives you easy ways to connect, easy ways for them to reach out to you. Hey, I also went to University of Findlay, or, hey, I saw you used to work at so-and-so. I was actually a supplier for that company. Like it really helps get those conversations started and lessens the barriers to when you are starting to do that outreach.
I've noticed that too. It kind of starts feeding the algorithm and
absolutely.
like based on your experience or based on where you went to school, it'll start like throwing you people to follow who might have went to your school. And then like you said, you have that kind of like, say there's an ideal customer there and they went to the university you went to, be like, hey, you can connect with them and be like, hey, university alum, just connecting, but it kind of feeds it to you, which is nice.
It does. 100%. Yep.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to set up your profile, you can do what I did, and I just went to Grant's LinkedIn profile and copied what he did and put it on mine because he knows what he's doing. So there's always that too.
Yep. And to that point,
copy as in format. Don't use exactly what.
And that's what I was going to say too. Like I have a certain way that I like type and I put stuff in there, and you could look at 50 different other people who are like on LinkedIn and stuff, and all their stuff will look different. So do whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, you can definitely cheat a little bit and go find some stuff. And I could tell a story about that, but anyway, my stuff has even been so good that I've had other marketing companies and freelancers quite literally strip my stuff and put their own information in and then post it as their own. Anyway, that might be another conversation.
We'll say that for the don'ts of LinkedIn.
I caught that the other day, and it was some crazy stuff. So shout out to that group in Minnesota. Anyway, so keep going here. Couple of different types of content to create and post, right? So again, let's think about this, right? You've got your foundation sets, right? So if you start connecting with people, where are they going to see? Or if they're searching for things, where are they going to see? Great. We've got that handled. We've got profile picture, background header. We've got some stuff in there about who you are, what you do. Some work experience stuff, right? As much as you want to put in there. Now, great. Okay, Grant, I've got this thing built. Now, what do I need to do? Well, now you need to start thinking about, what are the different things that you're going to put on your LinkedIn that people want to follow, right? There's all kinds of different stuff on here. There's all different types of people who have different opinions on this. I'm going to give you some of the things that I have found to be successful. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should be posting, right? Because you shouldn't just have a LinkedIn, you should be actively posting. Why? Because LinkedIn, as you are posting, rewards you're going to show up in people's algorithms. Mm-hmm. You're going to show up on people's feeds. I forget what the stat is. I think like 90% of people who have a LinkedIn don't post anything. And so right now I still think of LinkedIn as the Wild West because, yes, there's some benefits to doing paid stuff with it. But right now, like if you're just active at all, you're going to show up in people's feeds because a lot of people are hesitant to do these things, and they could be doing these things. So what are some things, you could be posting right as yourself? Well, some of the easy stuff is, let's say you attend an event or you did something, maybe at your business or holiday party or whatever, like take some pictures of that, post it. Hey, had a great time at blah, blah, blah. That's the easy stuff, right? Think about some, events, things that are happening real time. Could be some recent wins or challenges that you've overcome. So no, you don't need to be the Gary V inspiration, Alex Hormozy. I'm thinking about some of these guys. But you could on and off share some, maybe when you've had a win with something, maybe you did something great for a customer or a client or even your personal life. I see people are like, hey, I just ran the marathon in Columbus or whatever. Like, that's cool. Like, again, everybody's going to have a certain level of how much that they want to post with that type of stuff. Maybe some people lean into that more. I know I don't like posting a lot of the personal stuff. I usually try to keep it a little bit more on the business side, but it's whatever you want to do. So recent wins, challenges, maybe there's a book, an education or a resource or something that you're finding super helpful, like tag those books or talk about, hey, I learned this and this from this book. Maybe you're in an industry like Mr. Davis over here, whether you're dealing with accounting or taxes or updates with the government all the time. Like if you're in something like that, you can post some of your opinions about certain things, or maybe you're seeing a tool that works, or maybe there's some myths in your industry, or these people are talking about like hacks for taxes or something like that.
I mean, there's all kinds of things too. Like from my end of the world, you can just post useful things that are like hey, estimated payments are due. Yeah, stuff people forget about, or this is the new tax tables are out, or whatever you want to come up with. Every industry's got some things to be like, oh, it's kind of nice to know, and provide some value to people as they come across it. Seems like to me too, and maybe you've experienced this, the kind of fun stuff does well.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Like I think you just recently had experience where you took kind of a goofy picture in DC, and
so
you
stupid.
did it, but like
yes.
it did well.
It did.
It's probably versus just being like, here's a picture of the GC Strategies office where we work really hard every day to do marketing. You know what I mean? It was just something fun and it made sense and was unique,
Yes. For whatever reason, again, at the point of this podcast, like LinkedIn loves selfies. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm the least take a selfie type guy possible, but I told him so. I was in DC recently and I took a picture in front of the Washington Monument. I just did this cheesy whatever it was, visiting a client out here as a meeting, super cool. I'm on the lawn here in front of the monument. I took this picture and this thing had more we've got these 45-minute quality podcasts that go out there, and I think that the stupid picture of me in front of the monument got 20 times the engagement. So yeah, if you're a selfie guy or girl and you want to do that, yeah, they do. And you're right though. The fun stuff is LinkedIn is smart enough to kind of be able to see some of that stuff, and yeah, so you should think about that type of stuff.
Which I don't know if you have this in the future, but I think you touched on it briefly. But the one that I found very powerful is taking advantage of tagging and the shout outs.
Yeah.
Either tagging people specifically or products and services and stuff like that. As soon as you start tagging people, Grant will probably talk about this more, but I've noticed as I've done that, then their stuff shows up in my feeds, my stuff shows up in their feeds. I actually get to see the people I want to communicate with. If you use it as it's supposed to be used and try to see the things you want, you'll start getting that. If you're not engaging, it just kind of throws you whatever it wants to throw you.
100%. That's a great segue because okay, so, you've got your foundation built, you're starting to, what are some things I could be posting? Now how do I start getting more people, more eyeballs on stuff? And you're exactly right. One of those main things is to start tagging and following people. So if you are in that, and let me explain this, why we do this, right? So let's say, for example, I am so I'm marketing guy, right? And let's say I want to connect with people who are in like Ty, who are fractional controllers, fractional CFOs, people in the accounting world, because a lot of times, for example, if people are outsourcing their accounting or they're outsourcing those types of things, they may be open to or need to have a use for people in marketing, right? So what happens when, let's say I send Ty a connection request, he accepts it, okay, great, and we're connected, we're following, we're friends, for those of you who are the Facebook people, we're friends, great. Well, let's, if I do something with Tyler, let's say, I liked one of his posts or I commented on something. Let's say he said something that was really, really good about, whatever was going on in the world. And I'm like, hey, I agree with that. Great post, or whatever. I comment that on his post and I like it. Here's what's cool about LinkedIn. And you don't see this with all the other channels necessarily or as pertinent. Every one of Tyler's followers are going to see that Grant Cavalt, fractional CMO at GC Strategies, commented on something. So I just expanded my sphere of influence simply, way more than just Tyler seeing it. All of Tyler's friends are going to see that. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that are really powerful about LinkedIn is that networking piece where if you are active in it and you are constantly, trying to reach out to people and connect with them, your activity is going to be shown there. That's a free brand awareness piece. And again, maybe someday that'll change, but I think right now is one of the most powerful things because especially if Tyler has a really, really engaging post and there's just people commenting all over and they're liking different things, they're tagging each other. The more you're doing that, the more that other people are going to see you. Now, will they maybe reach out to you and follow you? Yeah. Will they maybe never reach out to you and follow you, but they will remember maybe something that you said, or they, all of a sudden you might reach out to them someday and they're like, wait, do you know Tyler Davis? I just saw something, mm-hmm. So that's such a powerful tool to your point. So yeah, the more that you can comment on things, like things, reshare things that you thought were great, that really that can 10x 20. You know what the number is, your influence and your ability to have that brand recognition, the visibility online.
So basically use the platform as it's intended, as a social network, and engage with things that you like and continue to use it, right? I mean,
100%. And I'm gonna say something that I have found to be useful. There's some other LinkedIn experts that would tell you differently. I don't know if one way is good or one way is worse, or if one way just works for you based off your industry. One of the things that you can do with LinkedIn, and again, you can do this on the free version, and Ty and I are going to talk a little bit about the paid here in a second, some of these communities, but you might be like, okay, Grant, well, this is great. I've got my foundation built. I'm doing some posting. I'm commenting on people, but what's the best way to connect with somebody online? To what Ty was saying earlier, everybody hates that cold feel of just randomly finding somebody that's interesting and reaching out to them. So one of the things that I have found, and again, this is me, some people tell you differently, is if I just want to connect with somebody and I'm genuinely just interested in them, or maybe it is a direct prospect or target that I want to reach out to, what I have found more often than not, that if I just hit the connect button, and I don't typically put a message in that first connection request, A lot of people, some people say, no, you should reach out with a personalized message. I have found if you're connecting with them and we've done all the things that I've already done, or that I've already talked about in terms of like when you connect with them, they're going to look at your profile. They're going to get a notification that somebody's trying to connect with them. They're going to look at your profile. They're going to make a determination whether or not they want to connect with you. It does not matter what that, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily matter what that if that connection request comes with a message or not, because they're going to make a determination whether or not, they're going to see who you follow. They're going to see your headline. They're going to see what you do. They'll make that determination whether or not they want to open that. Now, here's the key piece. Let's say they connect with you, and again, not everybody's going to want to, and especially if it's colder or whatever, like that's fine. It's the same thing with anything in sales. But let's say they do connect with you. Here's the part that so many people mess up that you have to do. You connect with somebody. That is when you need to send them a message. So one of the things that I spend time doing every week, and Tyler's also doing this as well. If somebody does connect with you, like I'm not, again, this is my personal opinion, I'm not in favor of somebody having 50,000 connections for the heck of having 50,000 connections. Give me like 2,000 really, really good ones versus the other ones. So here's one of the things you should do. Start a conversation with that person. Or just say, hey, let's say again, maybe I didn't know Ty. I reached out to him and said, hey Ty, really good to connect. Saw that you were in, you were in Sydney, Ohio, and you're part of the XYZ group. Really cool. I know a couple of people in there. Anyway, just want to expand my network. Good to talk. All you gotta do. Some people might give you a thumbs up back. Some people may never respond. Some people might say, oh, that's awesome. Yep, great to connect. You don't have to be over salesy with it. Now, that's one thing to do, but you need to respond. These people who connect, you need to send them something. So that could be one way. Another way could be, here's something that I've done as well. Hey, saw that you were an expert in blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I would love to get a virtual coffee with you at some point in time and just learn a little bit more about what you do. And 15 minutes sometime, like, let me know. Like, are you open for that? You would be very, very surprised how many people are open for that. And so again, if you're trying to expand your influence, whether it's people who are like you or directly to a prospect, like those types of reach outs and like just being human and just starting a connection as if, you maybe you met them at a networking party. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. Same thing applies. Nobody wants to be sold to. Nobody wants to, I hear people say the pitch slap, like they get pitched with a product or something immediately. People don't want that. They can sniff through that. I can tell you, I can sniff through it fast now. So yeah, those are some tips.
Do you think that's why you get so much success with getting the meetings? Because maybe just the approach is so refreshing compared to what people are used to. Because I'm honestly surprised, because it works for me too. Like, and I'm being genuine about it. Like, I do just want to connect with people, jump on a Zoom and see what they're doing for people, what I'm doing for people, and go from there. But I'm surprised they say yes and book the calls, because I'm surprised they're not waiting for you to be like, buy my stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's probably what they're accustomed to, like, getting slammed with. But maybe it's because of the entire approach, where it's so nonchalant the whole time that it does seem genuine, because it is,
Yes. I think that's a big piece of it. And I think, it's probably a little, and frankly speaking, it's probably easier for Ty and I to do that a little bit, just in our experiences, because we don't have like sales rep or something beside our name. And that could be harder for somebody who maybe is trying to do this, but you're one of 10 people at a company who are doing things, and people. But what I have found is if I can figure out a way to offer value to them in some form or fashion, whether it's like, hey, I saw you're doing XYZ, and I actually know somebody who might be able to help you with this, or hey, I saw blah, blah, blah. Like, do a little research. And if you can come to the table with some type of value or some type of reason why they should talk to you, it may have nothing to do with what your business or service is. It may have something completely different. Reach out to them and entice them with like something that could be of value. And you sometimes have to think about that. But like, think about like, what would this person feel valued? Like, what would they, what could I do? What could I bring up? What type of subject? Like, for me, a great example, different person, but I got this thing with Minnesota. But anyway, so just the other day, right? Like, I reached out to, or maybe somebody reached out to me and saw they were in Minnesota, and they had a bunch of Minnesota Vikings stuff. And so I said, I'm a Bengals fan. and Bengals had just gotten destroyed by the Vikings in football. And my response was, hey, saw you're a Vikings fan. Because of that, I'm not sure if I really would ever want to connect with you. But I said something funny, and this person responded back was like, "Oh, that's hilarious!" Like, yes, like that was part of like our whole thing, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, let me know. We should share some ideas on, whatever the subject was someday or virtual conference. He's like, yep, love it. Send me your scheduling link. Like, it was just something stupid like that. Yeah. Now, granted, everybody's getting a different space and everybody, that may not always work for everybody, but like, just be a human, right? Like, I guess try to be conversational in whatever you're doing and don't have this high expectation that every single time somebody connects with you, like I've always had the approach of like, it would be great if something if your intended action happens with this person that, they become a client or maybe they give you a direct referral. But I've always come at it as like, if you're having these conversations with somebody, think about like, because I'm having a conversation with this person engaging, that now opens me up to maybe 5 or 10 other people. Mm-hmm. And so if you come at it through that night, like not high pressure, not like, okay, I got to get something out of this person, but like just having that conversation and them being and you being in that person's mind probably just opened you up to 5 or 10 people in their immediate network. Keep that in mind and it will help the conversation flow a lot better.
Well, I think we're coming back to this theme of kind of warming up potential leads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now we're talking, we've connected with somebody, we send them up just a generic message, just saying, hey, how you doing? Just wanted to connect. Maybe we got a meeting with them, maybe we didn't. Mm-hmm. But like they know you, they like accepted to be connected with you.
Yep.
B, they know you exist, they know kind of what you do because they've looked at your profile. Yep. So at any point in time, if you do reach out to them. This could be whenever. It could be much later. Hey, do you or anyone in your network need XYZ? This is not a cold outreach now.
Correct.
It's much more warmed up because it's not like you just abruptly entered their life and said, buy my stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You let it kind of season a little bit.
Yes.
And you can do that if you want to or not do that. You can also just leave it be and produce content and they'll know what it is you're doing. Yep. If they like you as a person, they might want to use you or refer you to someone.
This gives you're now in front of them for when they're ready to make a buying decision. I think I did just see this the other day. 90% of buyers, when you reach out to them, are not ready to make a buying decision. And, again, or they're not even ready to talk to you and people don't want to be sold to. So you just have to do these things to be in front of them for when they're ready. And so that is where, yes, that does become a little bit of a numbers game, right? Like you want to make sure you're actively trying to connect with certain people, but like not a numbers game in the sense of like, well, I know I will make X amount of sales in the next 3 months because I did something. Like this just gives you a better opportunity in today's world to be there when they are ready to start making those decisions.
The other thing I would say too is reciprocate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So if you're connecting with a network that you're trying to either, you're trying to gain something from this network.
Yep.
The part of the authenticity in this is that when you're getting a coffee with somebody who maybe serves the same clients as you, you should be genuinely trying to figure out what it is that they do and if they fit a need for anyone that you work with.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about this a lot. Like we love to know the right referral for the people we work with anyhow, because we want them to succeed. Like that business succeeding no matter what is what we need for us to succeed with them. So I want to know the darn best like IT service provider out there. I want to know the best, tree trimmer. I want to know all these different people. And so I can refer for them as well. And that's where the authenticity in this is if I'm going to have a meeting with somebody, and I'm not talking about just directly going to my customers, I'm talking about people who may refer to me. I genuinely care about what they have going on too. Yes. And I don't really need to, connect and build a relationship with somebody who's like not good at what they're doing,
Right.
So I think that probably adds to it.
That is a really good point. I love that. One of the things, I just had this conversation with somebody last week, and I've never been asked this directly. And, we did, talk a little bit about, what they do. And this person looks at me and she goes, so how can I add value for you? She goes, I ask everybody who does this. I always ask them that question. And I looked at her, I said, you know what? That's a really I'm like, first of all, I'm stealing that. Yeah. But then I'm like, I love to just ask that question because that person had some reason for being on there. And if you didn't cover it, like, that this individual, happens to be very connected with some other people. And I'm like, oh, if there's ever an opportunity of this, and this, or actually, what, I was struggling with this, or like, do you have a good, like, I see you're in this network, like, do you have a good, like, resource for this, and this? Like, you could just flat ask somebody that question, and you might be surprised with what they might respond with. So.
Yeah. And I guess I just want to make sure you guys, if you're following along, a lot of what we're talking about right now is connecting with people who work with the people you want to work with.
Yes.
And that works across every single industry, because you said earlier, you're like, well, it just kind of depends on, it's easier for me and you to do versus if you're a sales rep. I'm like, I don't know. I put my mind in the head of, I'm a sales rep for manufacturer makes bolts. Say that's the most generic thing I could come up with.
Yep.
I'm probably going to connect with like people who are also selling to the same people I'm selling to.
Yes.
And working with them a lot. And I'm just going to connect with other sales reps in that same line and talking to them, because you never know what that's going to turn into. They might have a contract and a trust built up with a customer, and you can show to them that like, you're the best at these bolts, your lead times are the faster, like, and you're just making a genuine connection and friendship with somebody, I don't think there's an industry that doesn't work in.
No. And you just have to be creative to think about that. And for you folks who maybe are reps, having been a rep, multiple companies, like, have those conversations and intentionality with like your sales managers, and say, hey, no, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for me to make 100 cold calls, but if I make 25 warm connections with people who also serve our audience, that I'm going to have a lot higher success of actually bringing in real qualified business, because referrals and word of mouth is still always going to be stronger when you've got that reputation. So.
Yeah, gosh, same thing. Even I'm on that same example. What if you could go as far as someone who sells the product that you do, but then all of a sudden that turns into they're white labeling off of you and ordering off of you. Like, there's many angles, right?
Yeah.
Like there, it doesn't matter, like it's just really genuinely trying to build that network out and seeing those opportunities. And I don't think anybody's really thinking about it at that level of depth. They're thinking, I'm going to go on LinkedIn, I'm going to blast a bunch of messages to the people I want to work with directly, and they're just ignoring you because it's annoying.
Well, and to that point, like, that is such a culture problem that we have right now, is especially like sales reps. Sometimes like they want this instant sell. And unfortunately, like, a lot of the older generation has this expectation that like, oh yeah, well, like, I'm going to sell them and I want my answer. I'm telling you right now, I've been going hard on this LinkedIn thing for going on basically 3 years now. And I'm just now starting to see the fruits of some of those different things come in, or people who have been following with me for literally 2.5, 3 years, are things are maybe starting to get traction, or questions are being asked. So like, this is not a short term, like, throw gas on the fire type deal. This is a slowly build. Commit yourself to doing a certain amount of this each week, each month. Because like, it has to build. You're going to figure out things you like and different things you don't like. But you just had to commit to doing it in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the online version of showing up every week to the chamber event.
Yeah.
It's just, you have any idle hour, you can do this now, and you're not limited to whatever networking events coming up.
Yeah. So 100%. So I know we've basically covered a lot with just some of the LinkedIn stuff. So right, what do we talk about? Like, from your personal LinkedIn standpoint, okay, great. You need to make sure you got that foundation set up, all the different things about your profile. We've talked about the importance of engaging with other people's profiles, some of the best practices for reaching out and connecting with them. You start to do these things. I want Tyler to talk a little bit about joining groups, and maybe even off LinkedIn, where he has seen some success in terms of like, we're talking about this networking thing and joining groups where there's like-minded people or people who you want to be associated with. And there's other places, LinkedIn has groups, but there's other places where you might be able to get value, not even just from network business development, but even from like education resources.
I do want to ask you a question before we pivot off it. It's going to be similar to what I'm talking about, but I think the only thing we didn't leave them with was like actually how you find people.
Oh, sure. Yep.
On LinkedIn, because like what I'm going to talk about in the communities, you can find people in there very easily and then go to LinkedIn and find them there. But like, if you're just like, how do I find these people? What do you suggest?
Yep. So if you're just getting started off, do the things that we've talked about so far, right? You need to walk before you can run on LinkedIn, or you will be overwhelmed. Once you start to do some of the things, you're like, okay, I want to start looking for certain people. I would highly suggest testing out LinkedIn Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It is paid and it is not cheap. So, it's roughly $1,000 a year, or you can do it on a month by month basis. If you want to try it out and test it, but, you need to try that out, because within that navigator, you can search specifically for literally anything you want. So like if I was looking for accountants in, around Dayton, Ohio, who were, have, X amount of experience, blah, blah, like I can go as deep as I want, and they will start to give you lists that you can start to connect to. And so, again, think about that times however many, if you're working in certain industries, or, and find everybody in the, oil and gas industry who's blah, 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 like LinkedIn Sales Navigator is the place to go. You can build lists. It will automatically, show you, the list of people who are in this industry. And then, you can start to click connect on those people and then follow some of the steps that we were just talking about.
Yeah, and then I think the other one is too, once you start kind of building out your connections, you can start seeing who your connections are connected with.
Yes.
And kind of going through that. But I just wanted to put that out there because that was the most overwhelming thing for me when I started. I'm like, how do my feed's just throwing me stuff about accounting.
Same
and
people.
I'm like, I'm trying to flip this to where it's other business stuff. And it took a little bit. But you're right. Once the wheels start turning, it kind of just naturally works its way out. But what I was going to talk about too is just communities. And it's something that's provided business development for me that I didn't realize would. I just got in communities because I wanted to be in a network of people who did things like me and kind of learn from them. So like for me, there are communities for people who do taxes. There are communities for people who do bookkeeping, people who are fractional controllers, people who are fractional CFOs, people who are just fractionals in general. And what I found about the beauty of those communities are everyone in those are very like-minded and kind of going through the same problems, and no one's like treating each other as competitors, because like the market in the US is so big, right? Like there's more in many industries, more work out there than there are people who serve that work, And what I found very nice about that is there are consistently referral type opportunities in those communities. So those communities can exist. A lot of them are on Facebook. That's a big one. Yeah. Yep. But what I found is there are several in Slack and Discord. And finding them is not the easiest thing in the world. You just have to like come across it. A lot of times you find them on like LinkedIn, or you find them on like a place like Reddit, but they'll be like, hey, come join, this Discord channel for tax professionals. And then I'll get in there and I get to learn all this stuff about how the people are doing things and learn. But then there's at the bottom a referral thing where someone's like, I don't do this type of work. Does someone in here do this type of work? I'll give you a lead. And what I found really nice about any of the leads you get from those is you're getting a lead from someone who that person knows this person. So when they make a referral to you, there's already a certain element of trust to build up, and it's not cold at all. And it's so much easier to kind of come in and do your pitch. They've just been fantastic in multiple different arenas for me. Like I said, and that's what I'm saying, any industry, right? Guarantee you if you're a roofer, there's a roofers community. I guarantee you if you're in advanced manufacturing, there's an advanced manufacturing, community. There's probably a community of CMOs,
There's a lot.
There's just a lot. And it is true. Like people are niching down more and more into very specific things, so they can't serve everybody that they come across. And they want to do what we were talking about before, like authentically refer work to people that they trust and know. And if you build connections there, which what you would think are your competitors, building those can be very fruitful too.
It can be, and and you never know, right? Somebody could be at capacity, they could be wanting to get out of it, maybe they don't do anything as a side hustle, maybe there's a certain industry that you don't know. All those different things. Now I add one other one is like, look for groups that are maybe like associations. So like maybe there's I don't know, I'm just throwing out there like the manufacturers association for your whatever, builders exchange for whatever, or builder if you're in construction, but like look for those association groups too. And if there are maybe there's prospects that or prospective companies that are part of these associations, like a good way to sometimes go after those is to start to have a voice within those association channels, whether they're closed groups or maybe on the pages themselves, because
provide value in them.
Correct. And so it could be as simple as following the page, and then like let's say an event happens or they just had their big national trade show, like you're maybe commenting in the comments on there, you're leaving something small in there. I always love I try to be so when certain times, but sometimes I like to try to figure out a way to be the only marketer in the room, or you find something that's so niche and you say something so specific that somebody goes, oh, this guy gets it.
Yeah.
There would be no way he could make that comment about, that marketing guy just talk about, what's going on with taxes or something. Like, what? That guy actually understand. If you can figure out ways to do that, again, strategically, tactfully, whatever you want to do, there's some opportunities there.
Yeah, and then you can bring those connections back to keep it on the LinkedIn brand.
Yes.
Just once you've seen somebody on Facebook or on Reddit or Slack or whatever place you're at, you can go connect with them on LinkedIn.
Exactly right.
And then keep that funneling there.
Exactly right. So,
did we give them enough?
I think so, man. I was burning through these as fast as I could, and we hopefully you got a lot of value out of this. I know I love just talking about this. I could talk about this for 3 hours of some different things and ways I've hit my head. And trust me, the algorithms are always changing, and some of these things may not always work. But hopefully there's a little bit of value in just, doing some of these things and, try things out. Let us know what works, what doesn't work for you. Again, some of the things I said go in direct conflict with things that people tell you what to do and not to do. I'm just sharing my perspective.
It's an art, not a science.
Yeah.
Right?
And just like any marketing sales activity, it's test and iterate, man. And it's always going to be, certain people find certain rhythms, other people will find other things. And I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but I'm saying this is what I've learned and what I'm seeing be successful right now.
I guarantee you we'll have another episode at some point in time in the future on stuff that's changed.
Yeah.
But hey, like we said in the beginning, comment if you find this on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Comment on it because you're going to spread your connections.
Yeah. And if you ever watch what Ty and I do on LinkedIn, follow us. We're doing these things. So to what Ty was saying, like, he cheated off my LinkedIn profile. Well, you can cheat and follow some things we're doing. Like, anyway. But yeah, thank you all for joining today. Like I said, hopefully we got some good value, some good nuggets of information. If you guys have any questions on anything, reach out. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the NextGen Strategies Podcast, where we share real stories and practical strategies to help you grow your business. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to like and share it on social media.